The Cosmic Briefing, hosted by award-winning author Dr. Allison Brown, opens the door to disclosure, consciousness, galactic history, and humanity's awakening.
Hey everybody, and welcome back. Today I want to talk about multidimensionality. And the reason that I want to talk about that is because a lot of people are confused when they discuss UFOs or craft or extraterrestrials. And you can't really have a valid discussion about the physicality of these things without understanding the multidimensionality of these things. We exist in the third and fourth dimension currently. We're moving into the fifth dimension as a humanity, but we primarily exist in the third and fourth dimension of a 12-dimensional reality. By the time you get up into the sixth and seventh dimension, there is no need for a physical body. It's no longer physical. And so a lot of the beings that Will and I speak with are coming to us energetically through Will, who is a trans channel. And they're coming to us from an energetic aspect. If you heard me in my last podcast, I was talking about having been raised in the Christian church. And one of the things that we did in the Christian church was we spoke in tongues. I personally did not, but other people did. And what I understood at that time is that energy moves through the human body. It is voiced. And at that time, we understood it as the Holy Spirit speaking through a human. Often in the church, there was an interpreter or a translator of that energy. And now, when that happens, if it's not in English, we understand that it is light language. That's what we call it, Will and I, and others in the metaphysical realm, the practitioners. We call it light language, and it's essentially energy moving through the human body. Sometimes you can move your body. People move their hands to bring forth this energy. Some people may dance or sing or make utterances or speak in English, which is what Will does most of the time. The messages come through from our guides and others through his voice. And so the point is that all of that energy is in the seventh dimension and on up, because those beings don't have a physical body. Now, those beings can take a physical body if there is a reason to, the same way that an angelic being can come into a physical body, for example, and save someone in a car accident or from a tragedy, and witnesses will describe this person, this human who came and pulled the person out of the wreckage and then disappeared and no one knows who it was. Sometimes that's an angel coming in and taking a human body temporarily to assist. So we understand that these energetic beings, whether we call them galactics or ascended masters at this point, or angels or whoever, they can come in and take a body temporarily. And sometimes that's the case when we see extraterrestrials. Other times they are extraterrestrials in craft that are in the fifth dimension, where they're still in physical form. They still have a physical body. Now, I asked my guides recently because I wanted some clarity about how this works with regard to the physical beings that we see, or the craft, I should say, when they go into the water. There's a lot of talk in these releases of UFO information that have been coming out. There are videos of craft going in and out of the water, the oceans, in and out of Antarctica, and all over the place. And they said that the way that they move, though, we may be seeing them with our eyes, but they're not really in our reality. So the way that the propulsion that they have for their craft is not like anything that we have currently. Their propulsion is such that, and I am not a physicist, I'm not the best at explaining. I'm going to try to relay what they've told me. But they create like a slip they have a plasma field around their craft, and they create this slip so that they're slipping through the actual molecules of our reality. And so they're not existing in our reality. So therefore, it doesn't matter if they're traveling through water. They don't have to have a waterproof craft, for example. It doesn't matter if they're going through water or air. It isn't water or air to them. It's just traveling through our density, through our reality. Kind of like when they were explaining this, I had this vision of Moses parting the sea and creating this sort of tunnel or new reality experience through which they're traveling. So when they walked through that water, there was no water to walk through. It wouldn't have mattered if there was water or air or whatever. They were able to transverse through this kind of new reality that they had created for themselves. And so that was really interesting about the fact that it doesn't matter if it's water or air. The other thing I wanted to know was, are they going somewhere when they go into the ocean? Are they like existing within the water, or are they going down into the crust of the earth? And what they explained to me, which is why I brought up multidimensionality in the first place, is that they're actually not going to a destination that's physical, that we would be able to go to and see. Any destination that they're going to is in another dimensional reality. So whether it's under the water or in the air, whatever it is, it's multidimensional. So it isn't like we can, in physical bodies, go and hang out with them. Now, in the case of experiencers, where they have hung out with extraterrestrials, I don't want to get into the idea that they were abducted. We're not going to talk about that per se, but we know what we're talking about. Whenever a human being has had an actual encounter with an extraterrestrial and or craft and been taken aboard or had an interaction, they explained that what happens is there's a window that's created, essentially, of time, of no time, so that the human being can be taken into the reality of this extraterrestrial being and craft. As far as the human is concerned, things are still happening, but for that human, they're basically in a point of stasis where they're not experiencing their own reality any longer. They're experiencing this place of no time because the extraterrestrial has brought them into that arena. And so that's why they may have an actual experience. Now, when they come back out of that experience, it seems as if no time has gone by, or 5 minutes has gone by, when actually they've been maybe busy for quite some time. So that's how that works. I also asked, because there's a lot of talk about these missing people. I believe it was a couple of days ago, Joe Rogan had somebody on his podcast who was talking about missing people in the woods, particularly, who go out and walk into the woods and just disappear. There's absolutely no trace of them. And he said there's quite a number of people every year that do just disappear. And so I wanted to know what was going on with them. I had asked previously because of the missing scientists. And I might get into that in another video about the scientists specifically. But in this case, with regard to people who particularly walk out into the woods and are just gone, no trace of them, no footprints, no clothing, no method of extraction, no sign of foul play or the body. In most of those cases, those beings, and this is why, again, multidimensionality is important, because in most of those cases, the human has contracted before they come in, because we do create contracts before we incarnate about the experiences that we're going to have. So these beings have incarnated with a contract to, at some point in their life, walk into another reality. And so I asked, well, is that the same thing as a dimension? And they said, no, they're actually right here around you, but it's a different reality. It's kind of like what we would call a parallel reality, but not quite. So you may know, if you've ever visited a medium or you understand mediumship, you understand that if we were able to close our physical eyes and actually energetically see what's all around us, we would be shocked and awed, really, because there are all sorts of beings around us and energies, whether it is nature beings, whether it's deceased ancestors, spirit guides, angels, galactics, they're all existing all around us. And so these humans are walking into and literally disappearing into another reality. It's quite complicated. They explained that they are still who they are, but they don't really have, it's not that they don't have a memory of where they came from, but they don't have a concern because, they're leaving their family, people miss them, they've had jobs and lives. But it's kind of like when we cross over in transition and you realize you're an energetic being and you've dropped the physical body. You don't have a concern in the way that you have a concern when you're a human. You see that you have grieving family members who are grieving your death, but you don't have the same concern because you have a greater awareness. So these folks are kind of the same way. They have a greater awareness of what's happening. They understand their contract, and there are a variety of reasons that humans would have contracted to do that. Some of them, like I know that there's a lot of speculation about 3-letter agencies. And yes, there is a contingency of humans and galactics that are working together, that have formed a coalition. And sometimes those humans, particularly if they are studying these types of things, may be taken into that reality for their own protection. That is one scenario. Other scenarios there's just so many. They said sometimes they're taken into the inner earth to work with the Agarthans or the inner earth beings. Sometimes they're just taken into this other reality for a variety of other reasons. I couldn't begin to explain them all. But when I told you in the last video that you're going to be challenged, your belief systems are going to be challenged by a lot of things that you may not be ready for. Maybe you are. Hopefully, if you're watching these videos of mine and on this channel, you are interested in hearing some of these, what could be kind of crazy ideas and theories and explanations. But many people perhaps are not ready for all of that. But until we understand that our world is multidimensional, that frankly, it's exciting how magical and mysterious the real reality actually is. Because the reality that we live in, people have talked about it as an illusion or a holographic construct, and those are ways that you could accurately describe it. It's a construct of our own making, and that we have anchored ourselves into this reality to have a particular experience as a human. We've come in to be a human, but where we have come from and where we will return to is this energetic reality, the spirit realm, the multidimensional realm, where there's so much magic and the physics are not like they are on Earth. And the things that can be experienced through that are just phenomenal. And, I'll allude to this because many people are talking now about DMT and other types of medicines and plant medicines that take you into that reality for a time. And they're having those types of experiences, and they're understanding what's really out there and the magic of source, of the all, and the awe of it, the awesomeness of it, the mysteriousness of it. And that's why it's so difficult to explain some of these concepts, because we in our human brain just have a difficult time, because a lot of this stuff, most of this stuff, doesn't make sense scientifically or make sense from a physics standpoint. And so there may never really be quote unquote evidence of these types of things. So it's hard to justify. And this is also why I say, take in what resonates, let everything else go. Don't get into arguments with people about things, because the people who are expressing a lot of this stuff, or people who have come back from a journey, a plant medicine journey, express things that simply don't make sense and can't be explained. And they're never going to be able to give you the kind of evidence that you might think you need to believe. So the only way you're going to be able to believe is when you run it through your internal guidance system and you make up your own mind based on your own internal truth. You will resonate and understand truth when you see it or hear it. Trust me. I know that you will. I think that's probably enough for now. But start thinking about things in terms of multidimensionality versus a strictly physical experience, and a lot of the stuff that's coming down the pike will make more sense to you. Until next time.